Let's face it, mouths are really difficult things to draw. They're so soft, and where do they stop? And where do they end? They even have a great big hole in the middle of them. But drawing cartoon mouths need not be a big problem. With a cartoon mouth, you're most likely expressing an emotion of some sort. You are not creating a wonderful representational work of art, so don't worry about the fine detail too much. The viewer's imagination will fill in all the detail. Now, right back at the beginning of these videos, I did a really simple face, and we had 2 eyebrows and a nose and eyes and a slice of lemon, and essentially that is all you need for a mouth. I'll bring this down a little bit here, but you're going to want a lot more from that. The first thing that you can do to make it look slightly more realistic is just add a little shadow of the bottom lip, and that's all. Don't start putting lips in. We're going to do lips in the next video. But for an essential kind of face with a mouth, this is the only extra thing you really need to put in is a little bit of shadow underneath the lip, which will sort of bring the mouth forward. And then it's what do you do with that mouth? We've got a whole range of simple things that we can do. Just a simple line with a little shadow again underneath it. We can have a little bit of surprise maybe with an open mouth, and again we can put a little bit of shadow underneath it. But also we can start adding a bit more here. We've got white in the middle, which is kind of a big white cheesy smile, and here we can just put a little curve there, which is the top teeth showing, and we can shade in what's underneath it. Now squeeze another one in here. We can have little curves just for smiles, but we can make them into tiny little sort of melon boats or tiny little slices of lemon. And if you put the shadow to one side, it just adds a bit of kind of wry irony to it. Now the face is like a word, and it's spelled out with different letters, which go right back to the very first video. And each element that you're putting on this face, you can have very simple straight across eyebrows and a straight across nose and straight little dots for the eyes, and we can put a much more smiley face. Now this is exactly the same as that one, but we just tweaked up the mouth a little bit. So this is a slice of lemon, this is a slice of melon, and just makes the character look a little bit more happy. And so it's kind of adding a different letter. So we've got exactly the same word, almost exactly the same collection of letters, except we've added one different letter here to give a different kind of emotional expression. In the same way, then we can change the eyebrows. So let's say that they're the letter A, we can change them to the letter B instead, which kind of makes them look a bit more angry. The eyes are exactly the same letter that they were before, but again we can confuse the issue by putting that melon in there. So this is a kind of a much more relaxed smile. This is a more kind of intense kind of yeah right kind of smile. And then we can use exactly the same eyebrows and nose and eyes, but if we turn the melon up the other way around, then we turn that into something much more aggressive, and again we can just put that little shadow under the lip, and that looks slightly unreal somehow. So you could do something like that as well, which maybe might make it look even more weird. But that's maybe changing the letter slightly differently by adding an accent to it, or apostrophes around it or something. But it's essentially the same letter, but it's been added to and changed. Now, just in case you're getting a bit confused with this idea of words, let's think of the word face. So you've got F, A, C, and E. And we can change any one of those letters, and quite a lot of it will be pure gobbledygook. But if we kind of change the F, then we could get, say, mace. And we've only changed one letter, but we got a completely different meaning. We could have lace. If it was the eyebrows, we might kind of want to split the eyebrows to do two totally different things, so we could then put two words in there instead and have trace. So this is kind of, I hope you kind of understand what I'm saying here. We could have fade. We could have made. We could have wade. So by changing the C to the D, then we can change things. And we can change the last one as well. So we can go to fact. So when we're changing vowels, we're a bit limited. But you can see that from by just changing a few words, we get completely different meanings, as we would get completely different emotions if you're changing just slight elements in the face. So here we have surprise, and so we can change the eyebrows again. So we're changing it into a different letter. We're having the nose. We could have that kind of a mouth, but we could have really, really big. And we might add a bit of the tongue in there, so that the mouth is so big that you can see the tongue. And again, a tiny shadow underneath it. And there's a kind of a face that you'll see in manga comics quite often. Then we'll have that, and then maybe the eyes are sort of closed in disbelief, and again then this is this weird kind of shape like that, and in a manga comic it'll take over half the page, this mouth. So this is kind of surprise, whereas this here becomes much more pained, I think, really. So I mean, you could even kind of put tears in there, couldn't you, which turns it into crying. And it's the mouth is it's kind of expressing a lot. It's obviously saying something. You'll want it to maybe relate to the words that are in, that the character is speaking. So if the character is saying boo, then obviously you'll want to sort of match that. Let's do that. He's going to go ooh, like that. So that's maybe he's saying I love you in that one, whereas boo I think would be a little bit more demonstrative, really. It's a bit more sort of frightening and coming up behind you and saying boo, that one. Other ways of doing that. I'm trying to think other. I think if we did that, and then that's probably maybe whistling even, and we can put some little music outside that. So the mouth can be almost any shape, and if you're doing cartoon things, then kind of stick to these really, really simple things. I'm trying to get a bit of connection here, so he's whistling a tune, and maybe he's kind of singing along a little bit to it there. So as with many, many things, if you're wondering kind of what mouth to use, go and look in the mirror and express the expression you're trying to get across, and look and see what your mouth does. And then break it down into the simplest shape that you can do. And in all of them, if you want to, you can put these little shadows underneath them. And that really is the most detail that you need in a simple cartoon mouth. Now, if you really want to draw lips, then you're going to want to see the next video.